The origins of the Philippines in the Bible, a hidden role in prophecy. The Philippines, an archipelago in the heart of Southeast Asia, has long attracted attention for its natural beauty and profound questions about its origins and role in biblical history. In the Bible, many lands and peoples are mentioned with prophetic significance, and the Philippines seems to be one of those hidden lands, with a special mission that few people realize. When exploring prophecies and lessons from God, the question arises, does the Philippines appear in God's plan of salvation? Some scholars believe that the Philippines may be linked to the Land of Ophir mentioned in the Bible, rich in gold and natural resources. This places the Philippines in the larger picture of God's history and the role of peoples in carrying out His will. Opening the pages of Scripture and spiritual lessons, we are invited to discover the truth about the origin, role, and calling that the Philippines may hold in God's prophetic plan. Number 1. Genealogical journey, biblical lineages and their special connections. In Genesis 10, the Bible records the story of Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. They were the ancestors of all post-flood humanity, each lineage carrying its characteristics and influencing human history. There is an interesting hypothesis that the Filipino people may have a genealogical connection to 2 of these 3 lines, Japheth and Ham. Japheth, the ancestor of European and Asian peoples, carried a vast expansion and influence from the west to the east. Ham, the ancestor of African peoples and some ancient civilizations in Asia, represents resilience and strong adaptability through the ages. If this hypothesis is correct, the Filipinos may result from a unique blend, carrying strong cultural, genetic, and spiritual heritage from both of these lineages. The descendants of Ham, including Cush, Misraim, Put, and Canaan, shaped great civilizations such as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Their remarkable advances in architecture, agriculture, and trade reflect their resilience and creativity. Meanwhile, the descendants of Japheth, such as Gomer, Magog, and Togarmah, are believed to have spread from Europe to Asia. They played an essential role in shaping these regions' cultural and geopolitical identities. Southeast Asia, including the Philippines, has been a crossroads of many migrations and cultural exchanges. Archaeological remains in the Philippines, such as gold jewelry, stone tools, and ancient burials, testify to the blending of ancient cultures. This opens up the possibility that Filipinos inherited heritage from both Japheth and Ham. Modern scientific discoveries have contributed to clarifying this hypothesis. Genetic studies have shown that Filipinos have a complex mixture of DNA from Austronesians, East Asian groups, and traces from South Asia and the Middle East. This is consistent with the Y-DNA and mtDNA haplogroup patterns typical in the population, reflecting the intermingling of Eurasian and African regions. These findings not only support the blending hypothesis, but also emphasize the role of the Philippines as an essential link in human history. The Bible also provides a unique theological perspective. In Genesis 10, Japheth and Ham are described as the ancestors of peoples across the earth. The prophecy in Genesis 9:27 that may God enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant, has profound symbolic meaning. Japheth represents prosperity and expansion, while Ham represents strength to overcome challenges. If true, the combination of these 2 lineages would explain why the Filipinos possess such a strong spirit of resilience and adaptability. However, careful consideration of historical, scientific, and theological factors is needed to confirm this hypothesis. The temporal and spatial distance between biblical events and archaeological history in Southeast Asia poses many challenges. The Genesis account reflects events thousands of years ago, while evidence of Filipinos only dates back to the Neolithic period. In addition, the imprecision in identifying ancient lineages and the distance between civilizations still leave many gaps in the overall picture. However, archaeological and genetic research is opening opportunities to further clarify this genealogical connection. Ultimately, the important thing is not to fully confirm this hypothesis, but to emphasize the role of each people in God's grand plan. Filipinos, whether they have heritage from Japheth, Ham, or any other lineage, are part of God's creation, preservation, and reconstruction story. In our age of ever-increasing historical and scientific discoveries, we are reminded that every people on earth was created by God for a special purpose. This not only encourages us to explore our roots, but also points to unity and harmony among peoples as part of His plan of salvation. Number 2. Ophir, the biblical land of gold and the mystery of the Philippines. In human history and the pages of the Bible, Ophir stands out as a land blessed with extraordinary wealth, especially in gold. Biblical records, especially during the time of King Solomon, describe Ophir as a source of priceless treasures. An interesting and hotly debated theory holds that the Philippines is the biblical Ophir. This is based on historical, archaeological, and ancient trade evidence. The richness of gold and the historical role of the Philippines. The Philippines has long been known to be rich in gold and precious natural resources. Archaeological treasures from the Butuan culture testify to the sophisticated gold-working techniques of the region dating back hundreds of years. Before the Spanish colonial period, the Philippines was an important trading center where gold and other precious products were widely traded. The natural prosperity of the Philippines is a possible candidate for the biblical Ophir. Pre-colonial maritime trade routes also play a role in supporting this hypothesis. Trade routes connected the Philippines to regions such as Arabia, India, and China. Trade between these regions often included gold, ivory, and other rare goods, which fits perfectly with the description of Ophir in 1 Kings 10:22. Geographical analysis and biblical context. The biblical descriptions of Ophir suggest that it was a land far from Israel, accessible only by long sea voyages. This is one of the factors that makes the Philippine hypothesis interesting. The geography of the Philippines, located in Southeast Asia and far from the Middle East, fits the biblical notion of a foreign land. The ancient maritime trade system linking Southeast Asia to the Middle East and the Mediterranean also lends credence to the theory. Ships could cross the ocean and dock at rich islands like the Philippines, bringing back valuable goods that served empires as large as King Solomon's. The Philippines' rich natural resources. In addition to gold, the Philippines is known for its other valuable resources such as silver, copper, pearls, and sandalwood, all of which contribute to the image of Ophir as a place of great wealth. These resources not only satisfied the treasure needs of ancient kingdoms, but also showed the region's preeminent prosperity in the context of the ancient world. Controversies and challenges. However, the Philippines' Ophir hypothesis is not without its challenges. One of the biggest problems is the lack of direct archaeological evidence linking the Philippines to the biblical accounts of Ophir. Despite the abundance of ancient documents and archaeological evidence supporting this connection, no definitive discovery has yet been made to confirm it. In addition, there are many competing theories. Based on geographical and historical analysis, some scholars have suggested that Ophir could be located in East Africa, India, or even South America. These debates continue, leaving the issue a mystery without a final answer. The importance of Ophir in the context of faith. Whether or not the Philippines is Ophir, the story of this land still holds valuable lessons for faith. Ophir reminds us of not only material, but also spiritual wealth, and fosters gratitude for God's blessings. The biblical accounts of Ophir also show the connection between humans and God's grand plan, reminding us that all wealth comes from Him. The journey to explore Ophir is not only a historical and archaeological journey, but also an opportunity to look back at ourselves, question the true value of wealth in life, and move towards a whole life in God's grace. Number 3. The Legend of Ophir, the Biblical Secret and the Land of Gold. Ophir, a name that echoes in the Bible, is a symbol of wealth and blessings bestowed by God. Mentioned in the books of 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles, Ophir is a distant land where King Solomon sent ships every 3 years, bringing back gold, silver, ivory, monkeys, and peacocks. The wealth and mystery of Ophir has long attracted the interest of scholars and religious people, leading many to wonder where this land is. While some have suggested that Ophir could be located in East Africa or India, another interesting theory has emerged. The Philippines, with its rich history of gold and strategic location on ancient trade routes, could be this mythical land. Historically, the Philippines has been known for its abundance of gold. Since ancient times, indigenous peoples have mined and used gold to create jewelry, statues, and other ceremonial objects. Rituals. Many gold artifacts found in ancient tombs and now on display in major museums clearly show this abundance. Gold was a symbol of wealth and an essential source of livelihood, contributing to the promotion of regional trade. Before the arrival of the Spaniards, the Philippines participated in major trade routes with China, India, and the Islamic countries of the Middle East, bringing gold and other rare products. Looking at the geographical location of the Philippines, we see that this country is located in the heart of Southeast Asia, a strategic maritime trade node for thousands of years. Sea routes such as the South China Sea, Sulu Sea, and Celebes Sea connected the Philippines to significant civilizations and facilitated cultural and economic exchanges. This is an essential factor that strengthens the hypothesis that the Philippines could be Ophir, because the Bible describes Ophir as a distant land where maritime trade played an indispensable role. Furthermore, the biblical description of Ophir closely resembles the Philippines. An archipelago rich in natural resources, the Philippines was notable for its gold, pearls, and other valuable resources. The long voyages across the seas to Ophir also fit with the maritime routes that once connected the Philippines to the Middle East. Ancient traders, whether from Arabia or elsewhere, sought the precious goods of Southeast Asia, where gold and spices were considered priceless treasures. However, there are many questions to ask when determining whether the Philippines is Ophir. One of the biggest challenges is the lack of concrete evidence. Although archaeological artifacts and historical documents show abundant gold in the Philippines, there is no direct evidence to confirm that the region is the Ophir of the Bible. In addition, over the centuries, scholars have proposed various hypotheses about the location of Ophir, from East Africa, India, to South America, making the story even more complicated. Some modern studies, especially from Western and Spanish scholars, have tried to clarify this mystery. They suggest that Ophir's location could be in Southeast Asia, where all the resources and trade described in the Bible converge. The Philippines, with its rich history of gold and its central role in maritime trade routes, has emerged as a strong candidate. However, more interdisciplinary research is needed to clarify this issue. Naval archaeology, ancient linguistics, and analysis of ancient international trade may provide important clues that help connect Philippine history with the story of Ophir in the Bible. Although inconclusive, this hypothesis offers an interesting perspective and deepens our understanding of the Bible. It invites us to reflect on how God uses lands and peoples worldwide to accomplish His purposes. If the Philippines is indeed Ophir, it speaks not only to the prosperity God has bestowed, but also to the deep connections between civilizations throughout human history. Most importantly, it reminds us that every blessing comes from God and must be used to glorify Him. Number 4. Blessings to the blessers, the Philippines' role in the history of Israel. Throughout history, there have been moments when nations have been called to be instruments in God's plan of salvation. One such miraculous story is the special bond between the Philippines and the people of Israel, woven of humanity, courage, and a deep belief in biblical principles. When World War II shook the world and the Jews faced the Holocaust, many nations rejected their cries for help. But in the darkness of that rejection, the Philippines stood as a beacon of hope. Under the leadership of President Manuel Alcasan, the country opened its arms to more than 1,200 Jewish families who sought refuge. The open-door policy was not only an act of humanity, but also a living testament to the value of love and kindness in times of trial. This action is not accidental. It recalls God's promise to Abraham, recorded in Genesis 12:03, "I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you, and through you all the nations of the earth will be blessed." In this promise, God laid down an immutable principle: those who treat Israel well will be blessed. The Philippines' actions are a modern-day reflection of that promise. Not stopping there, the Philippines' historical role is also inscribed in another significant event. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations General Assembly voted on Resolution 181, a crucial step toward establishing the State of Israel. Among Asian countries, the Philippines was the only voice that spoke yes to this event. In a world where many countries are wary or opposed to the creation of Israel, the Philippines' actions once again shine as a testament to courage and faith in justice. The story of the Philippines and Israel is not simply a historical event, but also has profound theological significance. Looking back, we cannot help but reflect on the connection between a nation's decisions and God's blessings. Despite its many ups and downs, the Philippines has maintained a strong Christian foundation. The blessings it has received can be seen as a result of standing with God's chosen people. In God's grand plan of salvation, no act is small. Every decision can become part of the larger story of salvation, whether by an individual or a nation. The Philippines has demonstrated that even in a region of Asia where Christianity is not the majority, they can still be an instrument of God, contributing to the fulfillment of the prophecies about the people of Israel. The bond between the two nations continues to be strong in modern times. The Philippines and Israel not only maintain active diplomatic relations, but also cooperate in many areas, such as economics, defense, and education. This reflects a deep friendship built on a foundation of history and faith. Moreover, this story reminds every believer that God's promises always come true. When we bless others, especially the people of Israel, we are not only doing God's will, but we are also opening the door to His blessings. The history of the Philippines is a living testament to God's faithfulness to His promises. It reminds us that, in every age, actions guided by love and godliness will always bear fruit. This small nation has left its mark on God's grand plan, and their story continues to inspire us to live lives that glorify Him. As we look to the future, this story also poses a question for each of us. Will we choose to bless or turn away? Remember, what we do today not only affects the present, but also helps shape our own eternal story in God's plan. Number 5. The Philippines and its role in end-time prophecies. Although not directly mentioned in the Bible, given its unique geographic location and strong Christian influence, the Philippines could play a significant role in the end-time events predicted in the prophecies. The country's strategic location and the prominent presence of the global Christian community make the Philippines a major player in fulfilling prophecies about the return of Jesus. The Philippines, located in Southeast Asia, is a strategic country surrounded by essential sea routes connecting Asia and Europe. This gives the country an important role in international alliances, especially with Western nations. Furthermore, with over 80% of its population being Catholic, the Philippines is the largest Christian nation in Asia. In a multi-religious region like Southeast Asia, the presence of Christianity in the Philippines is necessary for the country and the world. The Christian testimony in the Philippines, primarily through the diaspora, helps sustain the faith and spread the gospel to remote areas with few Christians. This aligns with Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. Revelation 7:9 describes a grand vision of a great multitude from every nation, tribe, and tongue standing before the throne of God, worshiping Him. This is a picture of a global community, representing Christians worldwide in the end times. Filipinos, with their vast diaspora, are participating in this global evangelization effort. Filipino believers have been contributing to preaching the gospel in faraway lands such as the Middle East, Europe, and areas with few Christians, demonstrating the fulfillment of God's word of preaching the gospel before the end of the world. An important factor that cannot be overlooked is the Philippines' strategic partnership with Western nations, especially the United States. These two nations' military and economic alliance has played a significant role in global events. These partnerships may contribute to end-time prophecies, where nations will have to side with God in the fight against the forces of evil. As predicted in end-time prophecies, the close relationship between the Philippines and Western countries may signify a strong alliance against evil. In addition, the Philippines has shown strong support for Israel in many critical international decisions, especially at the United Nations. The Philippines' support for Israel, a nation with special significance in biblical prophecy, not only demonstrates its alignment with Israel's values, but also aligns with the promise in Genesis 12:03, "I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you." This action could signify participation in God's plan for the end times, when nations will rise to defend Israel, as prophesied in the Bible. Although many believers and scholars believe the Philippines could play a significant role in end-time events, the country's specific role remains an open question. Nevertheless, it is clear that the growing military presence in Southeast Asia and changes in international political alliances indicate an increasing influence of the Philippines on global events. This country, with its strong Christian influence and strategic location, is likely to be an integral part of God's grand plan for the world in the last days. While we cannot yet know what role the Philippines will play in the end times, we can see clear signs that the country will fulfill biblical prophecies. The Philippines' involvement in global missionary efforts, its support for Israel, and its strategic relationship with Western nations all point to an excellent potential for the country to fulfill God's plans. Looking at current events and biblical signs, we can see that the Philippines will not only be a factor in the global political scene, but will also be a significant part of the gospel's spread before Christ returns. In the last days, we are called not only to understand the prophecies, but also to act. Every Christian has a role in fulfilling God's command to preach the gospel to all nations. With all its strategic and religious elements, the Philippines can be essential in fulfilling this mission. We need to see this nation as a symbol of faithfulness and service to God in the final hours of human history. In the last days, we are called not only to understand the prophecies, but also to act. Every Christian has a role in fulfilling God's command to preach the gospel to all nations. With all its strategic and religious elements, the Philippines can be essential in fulfilling this mission. We need to see this nation as a symbol of faithfulness and service to God in the final hours of human history. Number 6. Philippines in prophecy, a role in the turning of history. The Philippines, a country not directly mentioned in the Bible, holds a special place in history and end times prophecy. The Philippines seems to have an essential role in the grand scheme of end-time events, through possible connections to Ophir and Tarshish, two mysterious lands in the Bible. While no direct evidence supports this connection, the hypothesis that the Philippines could be Ophir or Tarshish opens a new window to see the country in the larger picture of history and God's Word. Ophir, known for its wealth of gold and precious resources, was mentioned in the Bible when King Solomon's ships came to bring back gold, silver, and rare items, 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 12. Although there is no clear identification of the location of Ophir, but many researchers and scholars believe that, with its wealth of natural resources, the Philippines could be a potential candidate. The Philippines is rich in gold and located at an ancient trading center, where it once came into contact with great civilizations such as India, Arabia, and China. These characteristics of the Philippines are similar to the biblical description of Ophir, a land of splendor and abundance. Along with Ophir, Tarshish is also a mysterious place in the Bible, described as an essential place of trade, bringing precious treasures such as gold and silver from distant lands. Isaiah 69. Like Ophir, Tarshish is associated with trade and large ships, which again recalls the ancient sea routes in which the Philippines participated. The country is not only an important trading hub in Southeast Asia, but also an integral part of the global exchange of culture and resources. With its strategic location and substantial involvement in maritime trade, the Philippines could be an essential part of the prophecies of global wealth and trade. Notably, the Philippines has become Asia's most significant Christian center, with over 80% of the population being Catholic. This fact is unique in Southeast Asia, where most countries are non-Christian. The strong presence of Christianity in the Philippines is not only reflected in the people's religious life, but also in the spread of the Filipino community around the world. Matthew 24:14 says that the gospel will be preached to all nations before the end of the age. Filipinos, from the Middle East to North America, are taking their faith to places that have not yet seen the light of the gospel. Their involvement in missionary work is a clear sign of the fulfillment of biblical prophecies about the spread of the gospel. The Philippines' contribution to preserving and growing the Christian faith in Southeast Asia can be seen as essential for the country in God's grand plan. While other countries may not be strong in maintaining the faith, the Philippines is a beacon of light, not only maintaining the faith, but also spreading it to dark places. It is a symbol of hope and strength in a rapidly changing world. The Philippines is not only a strategic country in terms of trade, but also an integral part of the growth of Christianity globally. With all these factors, the Philippines not only plays a significant role in historical events, but also profoundly influences end-time prophecies. Although not directly mentioned in the Bible, the country's connection to mysterious places like Ophir and Tarshish and its strong Christian background suggests that the Philippines could play a significant role in fulfilling the final events in human history. With its wealth of resources, strategic location on trade routes, and the strength of its people's faith, the Philippines seems to have a special place in God's grand plan. Its presence on the global stage and its people's commitment to upholding and spreading the Christian faith is part of the fulfillment of end-time prophecies. From defending the faith to assisting other nations in their quest for salvation, the Philippines has played a vital role in fulfilling God's plan for the world. The origins of the Philippines in the Bible are not only a story of roots, but also offer valuable lessons about each nation's role in God's grand plan. While the Philippines may not be explicitly mentioned in the prophecies, the spirit of a people filled with faith, humility, and a desire to seek God is a testament to God's use of all peoples to accomplish His purposes. We are reminded that every people has a place in God's redemptive plan. The faithfulness of Filipinos to their faith is a powerful reminder that God is constantly at work around the world. This gives hope that, despite challenges and hardships, God is using each person and each nation to bring new creation and hope to the world. Remember, each of us has a role in that redemptive story. Let us live with the belief that God can do amazing things to transform the world through us. God calls us to be part of His plan, to be a light in this dark world, bringing His love and hope everywhere. If you want to discover more meaningful lessons from the Bible and learn about the role of nations in God's prophecy, follow and subscribe to our channel. We are always ready to accompany you on your journey to discover God's truths.